Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're going to just give a couple of seconds for everybody to roll in before we get started. Just bear with us and give us a couple of seconds. I see that we have a lot of people on tonight, so that's great. There's a lot of information to go over, but we will try to get you out timely around 8 o'clock.
So just to be clear, we want to say that the first half hour is for our underclassmen, our freshmen and sophomore parents. And then the second half hour will be geared towards junior parents, people going through the college search.
Yes, we have people all over the spectrum on this. So in the interest of time, we'll get started in just 1 second, once I do what I really need to do.
Okay, so I'm not sharing yet.
Not quite yet. Okay, so great. So welcome everyone, good evening. Tonight's presentation on Naviance is being sponsored by the Yorktown PTSA in partnership with Yorktown High School Guidance. I will do a shameless plug here and say that we encourage you to either become a member or make a donation so that we can continue to offer programs to our Yorktown High School students and families. Simply point the camera on your phone at the QR code on your screen, and it should take you to a link where you can access online membership and donations. Your support is very, very much appreciated. So before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Tonight's presentation is being recorded. A link will be emailed to everyone and also posted on the PTSA website. And as Ms. Servini mentioned, the first half of the presentation will focus on our underclassmen, and the second half will focus on how to use the Naviance tool in the college application process. So we welcome you to stay for one or for both. There will be a live Q&A, and Ms. Servini will be taking questions throughout the presentation. So we encourage you to type any questions that you may have during any portion of the presentation into the Q&A box. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Cindy Servini, the head of guidance at Yorktown High School.
Thank you, Mrs. Tomine. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that the PTSA is always looking to broadcast and to tap into what they can take advantage of from our program. We've had some fabulous speakers this year. I am not one of those fabulous speakers, but hopefully you'll get some information tonight about the Naviance program. It's basically in the last 2 years, we've started using it with the middle school students. So we're very excited about that, primarily because we don't have to sign up the high school students, which is such, it's a very time consuming task. So they're already signed up by the time they enter high school. So I'm going to share my screen right now. I was just joking that I can get kids into college. I just don't know if I can always share my screen. So let's see, share. Okay, so when we go into classrooms, the guidance counselors, we go into classrooms for all 4 years, but primarily what I want to talk about for the first half hour is our classroom visits to Husker Discovery and Health. So we go into those classrooms twice a year. So for example, if you're a 9th grade parent and your child took Husker Discovery in the fall, we were there. We work with Mrs. Siliberto, and we have a whole presentation for the children on Naviance. If your child is a 9th or a 10th grader and they took health in the fall, we were there. Different type of presentation. We hope to hit all the students. That's why it's so important when we sign them up for Husker Discovery, because we do 2 different presentations for each class. So one of the things that we try to get them familiarized with right away is our counseling website. So as you can see, Ms. Snyder does this, so she makes the rest of us look good. We have tabs for all of the grade levels, and as well as a course directory. We have a Twitter feed down here, and we have all pertinent information, as you'll see in the next few slides, on there. It's a good starting place. And from there, the students can link on to Naviance. Okay, so for the first part of the program, we're going to talk about what we do with our 9th and 10th graders. Definitely, in the beginning, we do the career assessments and the career exploration. And then every year we encourage them to start building their resume. Ms. Siliberto does a great resume presentation as part of her Husker Discovery class. But the beauty of the Naviance is that you can, from day one, your child can access this resume builder. Because what we explain to people is your child may do like a one-off soup kitchen in Thanksgiving. They might go and volunteer at a soup kitchen for Thanksgiving in their freshman year. Well, if you're trying to remember that in junior year, it's going to be really hard to remember. Was it last year that I went? Was it before COVID, during COVID? When was I at that soup kitchen? The resume builder, you can capture it right then and there. Just like the same thing, I love when kids come to us during like application process and they say, oh, can you tell me when I was on honor roll and when I was on principal's list? Well, by that time, you could have been on honor roll or principal's list 12 different times, and we don't have that information handy at our fingertips. But if you use the resume builder, you can certainly put that on. So that's encouraged from day one. The other reason that we want them to build this resume is when they're seniors, there is college scholarships that are made available. It's an awards night that we run usually early June. The last few years it's been virtual, but where we will get awards from the community, like Dr. Scheckman would send us an award for like $3,000 that we could give to a student that we named a student who has such and such and so and so. Well, we don't know. Our counselors have up to 50 students. We're not sure what each student has. If they're building the resume, we can ask them. I can say to Caitlin Tomany, like, oh, I thought you had volunteer experience. Send me your resume. So that's very good for them to have on hand just to send to their counselors. It helps us as we write our letters of recommendation. They have the college search. We do a lot with the college search feature of Naviance in junior year. And then as senior year, when we get to senior year, we use it to manage the applications during that whole process. So it's a 4-year program that we're using. And the sooner that you and your children become familiar with Naviance, it'll be a lot easier as we go through the 4 years. So I'm really appreciative of you taking your time tonight just to do this little Naviance like tour. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do these Husker and health visits in the fall and spring, and we do 2 different programs with them. The first one is called AchieveWorks, and that will provide characteristics, personality characteristics, and then it matches those personality characteristics to careers that match the child's personal strengths. You're going to see an example of it and you're going to say, oh, that looks like Myers-Briggs. And it totally is Myers-Briggs. They just changed the name of it. It used to be called a few years ago, Do What You Are. So if you had older children that have gone through the Naviance program, this is what was called Do What You Are. And what's really neat about this is it shows the children firsthand why it's really important to understand your personality in order to come up with an appropriate career match. So I really like that. I often tell them that my mother used to tell me that I should be a dental hygienist, which if you look at the career, if you look at the personality traits, characteristics to be a dental hygienist, I'm not one of them. So I don't have those personality strengths. So it really gets them thinking seriously, because when they come in, a lot of them just want to be like, I want to be a doctor, I'll make a lot of money. But you don't want to pick a career, or you don't want them following a career path if they don't have the personal characteristics that are going to match the strengths needed in that particular career. The career interest profiler, that goes a little bit deeper. They do that in the health class, and that takes information about their interests and then provides recommendations based on that. So if the same child that wanted to be a doctor, if they're answering questions about their interests and their interests are shying away from science, well, that would obviously not be a good match for them. So I've really been very pleased, because when we go through this with the children, we'll ask them for both of the assessments, does this match what you think about yourself? And almost always they'll tell you yes. They'll say it's a really good match. So, and we've had a couple of our school counselors take it just as demos, and we found out that they could be school counselors. So it's good. And it also gives them a whole bunch of different careers that they might not have thought about. So we do like this. The other career search tools that we use on Naviance are, other than Naviance, is the Occupational Outlook Handbook. I'll show you what that looks like. Ms. Snyder took a nice screenshot of it, so I put that a little bit later in the presentation. How are you doing, Ms. Tomine? Any questions?
So far, so good.
All right. Take a sip. Okay, so this is just a little bit about our guidance webpage, and it tells them different things. It'll show you what we have. Like, for example, we have the sophomore year checklist, different things that they can do to get the most out of their high school experience. We have the course directory, community service. Yorktown suggests that students do 40 hours of community service. It gives you different opportunities. It gives you the information of how to get your community service approved, clubs and activities. So all these different things are academic eligibility. And Ms. Tomine, you can see we have something with our PTSA on there too. So we're constantly showing students all of the different options, and that's why we have so much on the website that they can access.
Ms. Servini, there is a question, actually two questions, but they're both related. People are wondering if the Achieve Works results, like what they get after they take it, is that available for parents to view or to print, to be able to share with their parents?
Yes, so that stays on their Naviance. So right now, I think I've explained in the past, Naviance, they're expensive, so thank you, taxpayers. They are, but to their credit, they're constantly updating their site, which is kind of a detriment, because it's up to us each year to kind of scramble to figure out the site. So in the past, parents had their own login, and we're working with Naviance now to find out where they hid it, because Mrs. Snyder was looking like all afternoon for it. And right now, what we can tell you is that your child has a single sign-on, so they can sign on to it really easy. There's not a password to remember. So for the time being, we don't have parent logon. And I believe if we had the parent logon, it's more geared towards the upperclassmen for the college piece. I don't believe it's for the career piece. Don't blame me, that's a Naviance decision. But I could tell you that it's very easy for your child to show you, to look it up and to show you. So on behalf of Naviance, I apologize that it's not more user friendly, but that's where we are right now. So again, just to give you an example of what's on the checklist when they go on the website, just things that you would imagine with the grades and join activities, build a resume, and then create the Naviance account. This is their single sign-on, so they just sign on through their class link like they get on to everything else. All right, and they have, she also put on search careers, so you can look at careers on the website, and also a link to the occupational handbook. And that's pretty neat. It tells you the outlook, summary, what are the qualities, what do accountants do, how you would become one, the pay. We always tell kids to look at the New Jersey pay, because the pay for New York, the average pay for New York, they're taking an average. So an accountant in Manhattan is not going to make, you know, the same as an accountant in Verona, New York. So we always tell kids to look at that when we're talking to them. Outlook, similar occupations. It's a really neat little website as well. Okay, so this is the Husker Discovery Classroom Visit. It's our AchieveWorks, which I had mentioned is going to look terribly like the Myers-Briggs. I hope the relatives of Myers-Briggs got a good kickback, because it's definitely takes right from them. So here's the AchieveWorks, what it looks like when they start. And we try to tell them, you know, we try to tell them to answer the question seriously, because sometimes if you don't take it seriously, you're not going to get an accurate assessment. And at the end, it will give you suggested careers that match what you are, what you're looking at, based on your likes and your dislikes. Okay, so this was one of the results that I took from one of the seniors that took this a few years ago. And you can see it's really very detailed. And the kids like this because they feel like the test kind of knows them. So it tells you not only what your personality types, the characteristics, but also what you have to, where your strengths are, and what you have to be careful of, or what you can play to in a group situation or a job situation, in a classroom situation, but also pitfalls to watch out for. So you can't see it on this slide, but it's very comprehensive of what it tells them. And what's really nice for a lot of the kids as we walk around the classroom and talk to them about this is it's really the first time that they're getting exposed to this. So they're very happy about it. They feel like it's very user friendly and that the careers are helpful to them. Okay, so like I said, here are some of the strengths for that particular student, the challenges. And then it talks about careers, different careers that you can look into. So they give you so many careers that what we have the students do is kind of scroll through them and see which ones they're interested in. So when they get the results, I should say that to the people that asked the question before, when they get the results, they actually have to submit it to the teacher on Google Classroom so that the teacher knows that they did it and that they've also chosen some careers that they'd like to do for further exploration. So about the time that first quarter report cards come out, we counselors will have a meet and greet with all our freshman students. And for the students that have done this, this is a really nice talking point as we go forward with them and get to know them. So we have access to the Naviance. We can look at this. We also have them fill out for all the freshmen, even if they haven't taken Husker Discovery, we have them fill out a survey on Naviance for the guidance people to have. And it includes like their cell phones, their friends, in case we ever need to, you know, get in touch with them during the day. And it also will give us an idea what their 4-year plan is, what they would like to improve on as they go through high school. So it's really, we use it for a number of different areas.
Ms. Servini, I'm going to interject with a couple of questions. So one, there were a couple regarding how to access Naviance in general. So I guess some parents have tried to log on and been asked for a registration code. So how do they get that? That's part A. Part B is, do the parents have access, or will the parents get the student's Naviance ID?
So right now, I'm glad that people are trying to log on as parents, because that was something that Snyder and I were kind of at a loss to figure out like a couple hours ago. So what I would say right now is, if you, so Ms. Tomini, are we getting like a list on the Eventbrite? Or are we getting a list of the people that signed up with
Yes.
email?
Yes.
Okay, so if you could share that with me, our poor administrative assistants, Ms. Bragg and Ms. O'Mara, they're probably, their ears are ringing now, but I think maybe what we can do tomorrow is to try and get them the access code. We'd have to work with Naviance to do that.
Okay, great. So, you know, we'll follow up with everybody that registered with instructions on, you know, how they can get access codes and how they can access Naviance. But
as a parent, so as students, I mean, it's literally all over the website how to get into Naviance. So you, like I showed you before, they're freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior links. Once you hit down on that, you should see Naviance sign in. There's like 3 or 4 different places that the students can sign in. And if they're on their Chromebook, it's a single sign on. So they'll automatically be redirected to Naviance.
right. And if they have any trouble, they can always go to their counselor, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely can. The students shouldn't have any problem though, because we've been doing it with them in the Husker and the health classes. And the single sign on was like a gift. You know, it was a gift from God, because that makes it so much easier for them. They don't have to remember a password. They don't have to change the password. It's when you sign on to Naviance, you get to sign on to that.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify that parent sign in and the student sign in are different. So there was a question about that.
Yes.
The other question was, do colleges eventually have access to this, or does it remain private to you, to YHS parent and child?
Parent, child, counselor. That's it. I promise you. The way it works with the colleges is we send information from Naviance. Naviance books it up, packages it, and sends it. But there's no way, colleges don't have access to it, I promise you.
Okay, great. And then another question was, can service hours done for any organization such as the Boy Scouts, can they be recorded in Naviance?
So the way community service is, yes, you can record it in the resume builder, but the way community service is recorded overall is through Mrs. Merrow. You get pre-approved, you do the hours, you submit paperwork, and she will keep track of the hours. And then before senior year transcripts are released, I believe you get an email of the hours that you earned. And then anything above 20 hours goes on the transcript. And that's how colleges see it. Does that answer the question?
Yes. Okay, great. And here's another great question.
Okay.
And this might be more towards the junior section if you want to hold off till then, but how does Naviance speak to Common App?
Yeah, it's definitely a junior and senior question. They are linked together. Naviance will tell you which applications are Common App. And when you fill out certain paperwork like a FERPA, right, Naviance and Common App will link. And again, once they're linked, it's a lot easier for our office to send out our letters of recommendation, the teacher's letter of recommendation, and the transcript. So yes, there's definite symbiotic, okay, a relationship between Naviance and Common App.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I just want to reiterate, if you have a student, I have a freshman, so I can attest. A lot of them don't exactly come home talking about how to get into Naviance. So I would encourage everyone to talk with their students, ask them if they know how to log in, and if they don't, contact their counselor. They will have the they will have the password and access answers.
Well, see, like I said, there's no password. It's if they
Oh.
can get on their Google Classroom, if they're on their Chromebook, there's a link on the guidance webpage. They just hit it and it's automatically. So you're probably thinking of when your older daughter
Yes.
first started, there was definitely a password and there was access codes, but now it's a single sign-on.
Right. Just remember, they have to go in through the Google Classroom, whereas I don't think parents do, if I'm not mistaken. Mr.
Right.
Hayes. Yeah.
No, your parents can go on any device once we figure out how that's done. Students can go in using their Chromebook or their device. And yeah, it's like I said, single sign-on. So when they're signed on to everything else, their Google Classroom, their portal, everything, it'll automatically give them access to the Naviance. So our health visit, I just want to make sure we finish this up. Our health visit is the career interest profiler. Okay, and what this does is it takes your different aspects of your personality traits and suggests careers based on the Department of Labor. So the career interest profile, so the first one was like the Myers-Briggs. That's more of a personality. This is more of an interest, and hence interest profiler. So it matches to Holland's personality traits and then attaches those more to careers. Okay, so the person here obviously is very artistic. We can see that. And you do see the difference between the two assessments. The first one would tell you if you were an introvert or an extrovert artist. This one will tell you that you are an artist. Okay, so again, this is just more of the same. It'll tell you, you know, the all the personality traits of an artistic person, the personality traits of a conventional person. So it's interesting that this person has both of the, because you would think they'd be different, numbers and records and machines. And then the other one is more creative. So it's interesting that this person had both of those traits. Okay, and then they have different different careers based on those results. Maybe graphic designer would satisfy maybe the artistic person, but that also has to have structure. So very interesting. Okay, and then here's another look at Naviance. So sometimes students will say, I know what this says, but I still want to be a doctor. And so that gives you the option to explore the careers by their names. So you could put in, I want to be an accountant, I want to be an actuary, I'd like to be a doctor, and you could explore the careers that way. And that'll tell you, those are different windows that you can get. Okay, so I don't know if we have time to demo. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. And let me see if I can get on what the Naviance actually looks like.
So while you're doing that, Mr. Vini, one question was, do you need a password if the student is not logging on their school Chromebook, like they're not signed into their Yorktown account?
I would tell them to sign in on their Yorktown account, like, all right, so let me see what I have. Share.
And then while you're doing that, I'll just answer this last question that's in the Q&A box, which is, what if the students volunteered outside of school? How does this get recorded? There is a process for submitting for approval, pre-approval to your community service. It is all on the high school website. So you would submit for pre-approval, and then you would submit documentation once it's complete. And then there is a record of your student having gone through that process.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so let's see, screen share. Naviance. Share. Okay, demo Naviance student. All right, we're gonna demo a ninth grader right now. So this is just a demo, it's not actually a student. Okay, so the self-discovery is where they're going to be looking at, and you can find out the first one, the Achieve Works, is under personality. I'm begging you, if you go on with your student and they haven't done it yet, you can only do it once, and it's like a big whoop to change it back. So please ask, avoid your student doing it. If they're not taking a Husker class, then I guess you could do it. It would probably make sense, but if they're involved in Husker second semester, please wait for the guidance counselors to go in, because we can do a really good job at presenting it and telling the kids about it. All right, but and then the career interest profiler is the 10th grade one, or the health one. And again, please don't have them do it if they haven't taken the class. And this just gives you an option here. And then careers. You can explore careers. And you can type in the career over here. This is just going in order here. Show you a little bit about accountants, what they do. What I can tell you about accountants and what they do. My brother is a cost accountant, and any question I've ever asked him, he doesn't do that kind of accounting. So this will give you an idea. The wages. Here's your Holland codes, your related majors. Now, it used to be back in the day, if you hit this, it would give you colleges. Yeah, it gives you colleges that offer accounting. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop that share. And are there any other questions? Oh, this is like a big one of me.
Yeah, so there is one more community service question, which is, if it was done without pre-approval, can it still be submitted and get approved after completion? And the answer is yes, you get one strike. So if you did one community service without pre-approval, you can use that option one time only during the 4 years that you're there. Otherwise, you would have to contact the community service coordinator, Mrs. Miro, and she's at mmiro@yorktown.org.
Okay, now I've got to go back and share the rest of my parent presentation. No, but it's got to be open, right? Parent presentation. Back open to Zoom. Phew, okay. All right, now we're going to kind of move on to the college planning piece of it. So what Naviance is offering for that, and this is a lot of what you will do with your counselors during your junior meeting, is the college research part. So we have something called Super Match and something called College Match. They're basically both of them take criteria that you're looking for in a school. So if you say, well, I want an urban school with 3,000 students, but it can be private and I need the accounting major, you can put all those criteria in. And so you'll start out with something like 2,500 colleges, but the more criteria you put in, obviously it'll whittle down. Definitely the thing that whittles it down the most for people is the, well, depending on the major and also the part of the country that they're looking at. So you can do a college search like that. You can save the college search. The Super Match is a little bit different in that the Super Match will put it in slideshow mode. Yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry about that. Slideshow. Thank you for that reminder. So the slideshow, the Super Match rather, that will tell you the percentage of what you get. So you're putting in all these criterias and you come up with a college, you come up with Syracuse University. And what the Super Match will say is Syracuse University matches your criteria to 59%. And it'll tell you what criteria it matches, what criteria it doesn't. So you can also look up Syracuse and find out all kinds of information. It doesn't need to come up on your matched searches. You could just do a regular lookup. Your mom, your dad went to Syracuse. Let me see what it's about. Let me see how much it costs. I went to Syracuse. I didn't go. I went to Syracuse and it cost, $5,000 a year when I went. Let's go see what it costs now. So the college lookup will give you that. We talked about the college search, scattergrams. So way back in like 2004, Mrs. Buckley and I went and we met with the first Naviance people. And the thing that we loved and that everybody still loves is the scattergram. Because you'll go to a college fair, you'll talk to an admission representative and you'll say, oh, what do I need to get into Syracuse? And they'll give you a kind of nebulous answer, which they have to, because they can't compare, say, Braeburn apples to Braeburn apples. So our school is very different than a school down in the city. So this is why we moved to Yorktown. So what does it take for a Yorktown student to get into Syracuse? And I will show you that in a few minutes. That's a scattergram. So what the scattergram shows is 10, 15 years of history of how many students applied to Syracuse each year and what the average GPA and what the average college testing was. Everything with college testing is now turned on its ear. So that's not always a reliable source anymore, but the scattergrams do give you that information, and it can tell your child if it's a reach school, if it's a safety school, if it's a target school. It'll also show you the acceptance history, how many students applied from Yorktown to Syracuse in a given year. How has that changed over time? And as I mentioned before, it will help document the applications to college. And this year, and it's last year as well, because we don't let anybody into the building, not even parents, but we definitely don't let college admissions people come into the building. The students have the opportunity to sign up for Zoom presentations that are given by admissions. So when we look at the Naviance tonight, when we do the demo, it'll show you 2 colleges that are coming up. I believe one is a technical college and one might be Dublin. So, which really isn't a good representation of all the colleges that come to visit us or virtually visit us. But it is February, so it's not like high season for college, for college admissions visits right now. That's more September and October. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you sign on, and I'll show you that in a different in a demo. But they'll have for juniors, they'll relink you back to the junior checklist to see what you should be doing. It's going to be markedly different from the sophomore and freshman checklist because it will have a timeline attached to it when you should start signing up for ACTs or SATs, when you should be having your junior college meeting with teachers, with your counselor, and also when you should reach out to your teachers for recommendations. Ms. Snyder, again, is like awesome with our Twitter for text reminds. And then we have the junior section of the college webpage. So over here on the right, we have colleges that I'm thinking about, and that's really what the juniors focus on, is to develop that list of colleges that they are considering. They don't really get into the applying stage until they're starting senior year. There's also something for scholarships and money that's new that Naviance put on this year. We also have a scholarship binder in the guidance office that students can see. Specialized more local scholarships, and also there's FastWeb, which is a scholarship website that is pretty extensive. Okay, so this is, again, all of the things that you can access from Naviance. All right, so we talked about if you wanted to do the super match, you could click there. If you wanted to, do a college lookup, you could do that. You could see college visits. College Compare is kind of interesting. It takes 2 or 3 colleges and it does a comparison. If I'm looking at Syracuse, if I'm looking at Ithaca, what's the size difference? What's the cost difference? What's the major difference? Once you're into senior year, you're going to be looking at letters of recommendation, test scores, and managing transcripts. That's a little advanced for what we're doing now. I was actually cautioned by Ms. Snyder a couple hours ago. She said, be careful not to tell them too much, because she said it really takes away from the junior college meeting with the counselor. She says, I feel like if they know everything coming in, she doesn't feel as needed as she would otherwise. So this is just different things that we remind them as seniors down here, deadlines. Okay, so these are just little Ms. Snyder reminders. The career exploration is a process. And this is where I usually tell everybody, and I can't see hands or anything, but if this were live, I'd be asking the people here, how many of you are still doing, we should have a poll on this Zoom. How many people are actually in the career that they thought of when they were in high school? Probably not many of us. Otherwise, I'd be a dental hygienist. Okay, and this is also a Ms. Snyder-ism. And I think we're good. So I think at this point, I'll stop sharing. And I will go back and see if I can get a demo for the junior piece.
While you're doing that, if I could ask, is the scholarship binder also available online?
Yes, I believe it is. It's probably on our website. Hold on, why can't I find what?
Yes.
Go.
And then while you're doing that as well, there was another question about how do you access the Naviance through their Chromebook? I guess they were looking for it and didn't see it. So we could kind of walk through people afterwards, but if you're on the high school website, you want to go to the section that's for students. And I believe the way you get in is through ClassLink. Is that correct?
Yeah, she had a slide for that. Let me see if I can go on the website and find it while we're talking.
So is that right though, Mr. Beanie? It's the class link, right?
Yes, they would go in as a student.
So I'm gonna share my screen super quickly right now. So if you're on the high school website, up at this menu, you want to go to the student links and you want to go to the class link. And obviously I'm not on my child's computer, but once you click on that, if they're logged in through their Yorktown account, this will automatically happen for them. If not, they should sign in with Google using their student email and login, which they all have. Are you still trying to access the
Yeah,
demo?
okay, so I'm looking at the junior link, at the junior page, freshman on our guidance website. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, they have career planning information and it says Naviance student login through class link, and she has the link there, right there. And I would imagine that it's probably the same for sophomores. Do you want me to share it, Lisa, or
Sure.
Ms. Thompson?
Doesn't hurt, so everybody can get it. It is a little bit tricky.
I'm sharing it or no?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let me go back in. I got that one open. Now I got to go back to me.
And I believe that's through the guidance site.
That's the way I did it, yeah. Okay, so right down here. So it definitely is towards the bottom, but that might not be the only place that it is.
That's great.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you were going to go through the demo to show the scattergram, et cetera.
Yeah, oh, totally. I love scattergrams. Okay, let me get out of this. Stop share. You know, when we send out the email to everybody, I know Ms. Snyder sent me an email with all the links to get on when we thought we could get on as parents. So we will definitely put that on. Let's see, Naviance. All right. Okay, demo. All right, so colleges I'm thinking about. Okay, I have Lehigh on here. So you know what? Let's get away from Syracuse and we'll go to Lehigh. Okay, so as you can see here, someone asked before about the Common App. So here it is, delivery type, Common App. So that is telling you on Naviance that this is a Common App school. There's another blank computer. That would be something where you would need to use the school's application specific to that particular school. I would say about 80%, maybe more, use Common App. But it doesn't matter if it's the Common App or the school app, we can still send through Naviance. So if we hit Lehigh University, oh, there we go. All right, so it tells you where they are. There's the net price. That's probably not the actual price because there's the income. So you can go there. Oof, not as good. Don't worry about sticker prices, I say, because sticker prices are just that. financial aid and scholarship and grants go a long way. You can definitely, do comparison. A lot of people put together spreadsheets, about costs and financial aid packages. That's the worry that I have for a lot of students. It seems like more and more students are applying to more and more colleges. I think that gets a little unwieldy when you apply to and I'm not even exaggerating, we have students that have applied to more than 25 colleges. And I think it gets a little unwieldy when you're trying to look at that many financial aid packages. The acceptance rate is about 22%, and here it is. Here's scattergrams. It's what we've all been waiting for. Okay, so what that is telling me is that an average student that's getting in is falling about that area. Okay, sometimes kids wind up on the wait list and then they're accepted later. All right. This is wait list unknown because sometimes they don't tell us. The X's are denied. So this is not the be all end all, but it's definitely very helpful for students when they, when they are looking at their chances of getting in a college. As counselors, we never like to tell students, oh my gosh, you're never going to make that school. We don't want to go there. Oh my gosh, Ms. Tomei, 2 people raised their hand when I said that. But this is like a good way to give your child maybe some reality, and it's a good thing too, if you're a 9th grade parent and, you have a student that doesn't want to study, but talks about wanting to go to Lehigh. This is a real eye opener for the 9th graders of what it takes to get into a particular school. You can also change, all right, SAT or ACT. Okay, and that kind of gives you ACT 17, ACT 20. That gives you an ACT. So the beauty of this, like I said, is it's definitely a Braeburn apple to Braeburn apple situation. It's very, very helpful because you're not comparing it to a national norm. You're not comparing it to even like a local norm, because we know, if you go 10 or 15 miles away from Yorktown, you have school districts that aren't as good as Yorktown, for lack of a better word. They don't produce the same kind of results. This will give you.
Ms. Servini, there was a question. Is the scattergram current in the no test score environment? So in other words, does it show you a year-to-year picture, or is it like an average over the course of years?
So the counselors can actually change the year to year. I don't think the parents and the students have that option. So it's definitely, when you get into your meeting with your counselor for your junior meeting, ask them to change the year. We're all kind of trying to wrap our head around the no test scores and what does that mean, and what else are the colleges looking at if they're not looking at test scores. What if, Caitlin Tomei puts in her test scores, but Kelsey Servini doesn't? How are they going to match them up? I do believe that they are not using test scores. They can't, because how would Kelsey Servini have a shot if Caitlin is putting in really very good test scores? So colleges have pretty much told us that they're test score blind right now for the time being. That is to say, we had Wendy here, and Wendy did say that submit your test scores if they're good. Don't leave them out. So this gives you a little bit about the logistics. I don't know why this SAT stuff is coming up here, but this will give you a little logistics on the school. All right, aid, financial aid. Now I'm gonna try and go back. Right before the scattergram. College overlaps, really like that one too. That's my other favorite thing about this particular view. So you could see other colleges that students who have applied to Lehigh have applied to, and that tells me that it's sort of a similar situation. The things that the students liked about Lehigh, they also liked about Cornell and Binghamton. So, and you can see there's really not a whole, like if I'm looking at these schools, there's not a whole lot of difference between these schools. A lot of, liberal arts, high-end colleges, there's nothing in there that really surprises me. And it also gives you the stats on those other schools. And so what also will happen is when you put a little heart next to it, it means that you like the college. And again, as counselors, we can see that. So we're in communication with college admission counselors. We went, a couple of us went to something recently about Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac had like an in-person kind of cocktail party. Can I say that? Hors d'oeuvres and adult beverages down in White Plains. And some of us went down and we were meeting with the Quinnipiac people. And it was really good to be able to cull a list together of students who had applied and also students who have expressed an interest in Quinnipiac. So it's good for us as colleges. I have a friend of mine is coming up from Rutgers he's going to drop off some goodies to us outside. But also I could tell him the students who have expressed an interest in Rutgers. And then as counselors and as parents, as counselors, we can put on, if I meet with someone from Rutgers and I find out that they have a really good film program there, and I know that your child is interested in film, I can go on the Naviance as the counselor, suggest a college, like a college as it were, and then where it, instead of saying who liked the college, if it was the student, it'll say who added the college, the student, the counselor, or the parent. So once we get you parents into that, we can definitely show you how to add colleges on. And just like careers, you can look up different colleges. You can do the college match. The counselors will tell you that during your junior college meeting. I don't want to take that away from Ms. Snyder because she loves to show match and super match. And all the counselors, they're very familiar with it. And what we're doing this year in the office now used to be that, there were 7 of us and we all do kind of a little bit of a, different 7 different college presentations to our juniors. But we're now on the same page and we hand out a lot of the same literature for everybody so that every student and their parent are getting the same message.
Okay, Mr. Rini, there was a question, and I think it has to do with this scattergram, if I'm reading it correctly. The question was, where does the student find their rating? So I don't know what they mean by ratings. That just may mean their statistics relative to the scattergram.
It's on there, actually. I couldn't show it in the demo because the demo is not a real person. But we update, and Mr. Sullivan is very responsible for this. He always reminds me that I need to update the GPAs for the 10th graders and the 11th graders, obviously the seniors. But so your GPA every year comes out with your transcript in July. When we come back in September, Ms. O'Mara and I update your GPA on Naviance so that when you get onto the scattergrams, that's a really good question. When you get onto the scattergrams, it will show your child where they compare. They can't do that with the test scores until they've actually started taking the test. And when College Board or ACT sends us the report, of all the different scores, then Mrs. O'Mara gets that on to each student's Naviance.
Okay, great. And this is, we should have probably started here. The question is, what is the Common App?
Okay, so the Common App is a almost universal application that instead, if I'm applying to 10 colleges, or if I were applying to 26 colleges, I don't really want to fill out 26 different applications. I don't want to put my name down 26 times. I don't want to put my address down 26 times. The Common App brings you through it one time. So there's a whole section on your logistics, your name, your date of birth, that much, your address, your phone number, your contact information. Then they go into your academics. What kind of school are you going to? You're going to a high school. Has there been any interruption? No, I've gone to Yorktown High School all 4 years. What's your class size? My class size is 300. What's, how does your school do ranking? We don't rank. And that'll bring you, so instead of filling out that question, all those questions 26 times, doing your activities, rating your activities, from your most involvement to your least involvement or least important, you don't have to do that 26 times. By the time the kids are finished with the Common App, they're glad it's only one. At the end of the Common App, or during that process, you're adding colleges to that. So if I'm applying to 5 colleges and I go into what does Syracuse want, Syracuse will ask me to answer 5 questions. And in addition to the writing that the Common App is asking me for, Syracuse might ask me, why are you looking at Syracuse? What is it that they say it a lot smoother than this. I worked with a girl who applied to University of San Francisco, and they talked about the background. I think it's a Jesuit school, and the giving back to the community. And how do you see yourself giving back to the community as a student in this college? And we related her major. She wants to major in fashion. How do you give back to the community? And we were thinking about Toms and the socks, and how different. And then we Googled how companies in the fashion industry do community service or help. So that could be very specific to the one college, but you don't want to do that 26 times. So the Common App gives you like a universal application that you're only doing it once.
Great, thank you. And then I think we have time for maybe just one last question. And I think it's a refinement of the scattergram, which was, they were asking for a rating of the child. In other words, is the child in the top 10% in the school? So I'm not sure if they mean top 10% of the school they're applying to or top 10% of New York, but that's not what the scattergram is used for.
No,
Servini, I'll let you explain.
The scattergram is telling you, all right, these are the people that have gotten into Lehigh. These are the people whose applications were denied to Lehigh. So if I'm going on to that scattergram and I have a 93 average, what are my chances of getting into Lehigh? Does that make sense? It has nothing to do with top 10% or ranking or anything like that.
Yes, it does. So in the interest of time, I want to thank everybody for their questions and just give a plug for the next presentation that Guidance and the PTSA will be working on, which is the do's and don'ts of writing college essays. That will be by Zoom on March 7th. And we will have Wendy Siegel joining us to kind of give us the tips, mainly obviously geared for those that are going to be looking to use the summer to start their essay. So we encourage you to join us. And again, the link to a recording of this will be sent to everybody along with any information that Ms. Servini referenced throughout the evening. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on March 7th. Good night.
Good night.